Master Happiness is an artist, writer, poet, philosopher, inventor, father, and friend. A euphoric optimist persistently pursuing his passion of helping hundreds find happiness. Marty is incredibly proud to say that after 20+ years in sales and marketing management, Toastmasters have helped him launch his career as an international business and storytelling coach. He enjoys helping individuals, teams, and businesses discover their inner bacon, their passion, mission, and evolution, and teach them how to simple things before. Welcome, Marty.
Before you get started, can you mute the volume on your Zoom?
I'm gonna try.
Thank you.
Okay. I am muted.
Oh,
I'm
I
good.
hear an echo somewhere.
No, it's
Should be able to check.
Are you hearing an echo? Echo?
Okay, never mind. Go ahead, sorry.
We're good?
Thank
All
you.
right, sounds good. Everyone can hear me in the back, right? I want to make sure I'm projecting. Everyone's good? Awesome. Hello, friend. How are you? Awesome. So I was just asked a question about what's the deal with the bacon? What do I mean by what's your bacon? You know, this is going to keep smacking me in the face, so I'm going to take that off for a moment. So when I say what's your bacon, what I mean is simply what wakes you up in the morning? What gets you excited? What is that driving force that is so exciting the next morning that you can almost not go to sleep the night before? When I was younger, I used to wake up Monday mornings going to school with this awful upset stomach, right? Just feeling terrible, like really physically ill. And sometimes it happened Sunday nights because I knew I had school on Monday. I never got that illness. I never got that illness during the summer. It was one of those fall, winter illnesses only during school time, right? We've all probably experienced that. If not in school, we've experienced definitely at work. And myself a simple question. What would have to happen? What would I have to promise myself every morning so I would leap out of bed being so incredibly excited? What would I have to promise myself? And the answer to me was bacon. Man, I was promised bacon in the morning, I would be jumping out of bed. We have some bacon aficionados. All right. But if I was promised bacon in the morning, I'm going to jump out of bed and just get excited. Now, my wife knows this secret as well. All right, she knows that what'll happen is on the weekend, maybe Saturday, Sunday, I want to sleep in just a little bit late. But I smell that bacon cooking in the kitchen downstairs, right? The savory smell works its way up the steps, touches my nose, I levitate off the bed, right? And I sail down the steps without touching a single stair. I slide down there, sail down there to the kitchen, right? Just brought in by that smell, right? And she stopped right away and said, wait. Before you have any bacon, you gotta go mow the lawn. Okay? She knows my motivation. She knows how to get me out of bed. She knows how to excite me like that. So I said to myself, how can I make a living? How can I possibly make a livelihood on bacon, getting up every morning with bacon? The reality is nobody has tried harder than me, but it can't be done. All right. There is nobody that's gonna pay me for eating bacon every morning. It just doesn't happen. So I said, what does bacon mean to me? What's that inside feeling? So bacon is more than just a food. And we all know it's a food that everything it touches, it makes it better. But the essence of bacon is just that. What is your bacon? What is that special thing about you that everything you touch with that gift, with that skill, with that ability, everything you touch, you make things a little bit better? What is your bacon? So I'm not talking about the bacon for chewing. I'm talking about the bacon for doing. All right. So it's a matter of what is that special thing about you that makes you special? So bacon for me is an acronym. Bacon stands for this. B, believe in yourself. This is so very important. I know we've heard this over and over and over again. You know, our moms have told us this since we were little kids. Believe in yourself. You're something special. But don't let those words disappear. You are special. You are absolutely unique. We are a Venn diagram of all the things that we are good at, and we become that person. Now, am I the greatest motivational speaker in the world? Wow, no answer, wow. Am I the greatest motivational speaker in the world? Thank you. I wish that was true, but no, I'm probably not the best, maybe second, third, but I'm not the absolute best. All right, I also am a cartoonist. I love to draw and I love entertaining kids. Am I the greatest artist in the world? No. Thank you. But what I am is this combination of things. I might be one of the greatest motivational speakers who also like cartooning, who also like doing improv, who like speaking in front of people, who join Toastmasters. This conglomeration of all the things that I do, all those things is what makes me special. That's when I say B, I believe in myself. That's what I'm talking about. Think of all those things you do. You may not be the absolute best at any one thing, but you're the best at all those things you do. You're the only one who does all that. So that's the B. The A stands for anticipate obstacles. We all know, all right, that throughout life, everything we want to do, every direction we want to head into, there's hurdles and obstacles in our way, right? Everything trying to slow us down. Anticipate that. Know that they're going to be there so that it's easier to overcome. That leads us to C. The way to overcome your obstacles is C, confront your fears. Fear is the main obstacle, the thing that stops us from going out and doing something crazy. Fear is that thing that stops you from standing up on the stage and speaking to people here 5 to 7 minutes, not exceeding 7.5 minutes. Okay, fear is that thing that spooks us a little bit. So confront that fear, face that fear. And in order to do that, we observe and learn. I promise you this, that every single person, every problem you have, other people have had the exact same problem. If you pay attention, you observe the way that they handle the problem, it makes it easier for you to face the exact same problem. So once you are good at this, once you are good at B, believing in yourself, A, anticipating obstacles, C, confronting your fear, by O, observing and learning, then you finally N, nudge other people to do the same thing. That's the true secret to life. That's the secret to life. That's what makes you an amazing individual. So that's the secret of bacon. And I want us all, during the day here, during this presentation, I want you to scratch down some notes. Try to figure out how would you define your inner bacon? Okay, now bacon is already taken, so Jim, you can't say bacon. All right, so what we need to do is you have to come up with something else, something that really drives the driving force. I've known people who said knitting was the thing that they actually love to do. There you go. I've known people who said baking is the thing that they love to do. Okay, all right, so there's all kinds of great things like that. Find your bacon, that thing that you absolutely love to do. Ignore that man over by the microphone, all right? All right. Okay, so let's get into this now. About once you realize your inner bacon, I want you to share your story with the world. That's what this is all about, sharing your story with the world. Now, back in the day, long before I was a little child, okay, back in the day, we used to gather around bonfires to share stories. You know, men and women would gather and they would talk about the day's hunt. Like, oh, you know, we were fighting saber-toothed tiger and stuff like that. And they were going, and they would go on and on and on. And think about this. How often do you think those stories they were telling around the fire were perfectly accurate? How many of those stories do you think were a little exaggerated? Yeah, right? Okay, so it goes on and on like this. Be good? Awesome, awesome. Let's give a round of applause for the AV guy. All right. All right, so back to the bonfire. Think about this. We're around the bonfire. All right, we're sharing those stories. That's what's so important. And it was a time where you had a captive audience, where we sat there, we looked at each other. But over time, what's happening is we're becoming overwhelmed. We've got so many speeches. We've got ads that we're seeing all the time. We've got television that's inundating our brain. TikTok. Okay, think of the speeches. Think of just the speeches alone. Now, how many people here are a member of more than 2 Toastmasters clubs? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. How many member of 3 or more?
That's the same.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for doing the math. All right. So at one point in time, I was a member of 4 clubs. Okay, I was a member of 4 clubs, and it was that line where I was, do I stay with Toastmasters and divorce my wife or stay with my wife? I got down on my Toastmasters, okay? So I was part of Toastmasters. One of the groups met every week. 2 of the groups met every other week. And one of the groups met once a month. So that meant I went to 9 Toastmaster meetings a month. On an average of 2 speeches every meeting. That meant 18 speeches every month I had to hear. Okay, and I say it like that I had to hear. Because when you hear 1 or 2 speeches, they're amazing. You're invigorated, you're inspired, you're motivated. But when you hear 18 speeches, and that doesn't count the other 18 evaluations, the 30 to 40 table topics. Okay, what happens is, unfortunately, we get mixed up. It becomes a blur. All these speeches become white noise. And what we do is we try to regurgitate the same information in a lot of different ways. So every day, it becomes a bigger and bigger challenge to stand out, to be amazing, to be remarkable, to be remembered. It becomes more and more difficult every single time that we're up on the stage. And what's really worse, is that so many of us don't realize that. We walk up there and we say, I have a diamond of a speech. I have this wonderful information I want to share with everybody. But it falls flat as you're staring through Zoom, where everyone is looking at you, but actually watching their phone go, oh, yeah. Okay, right? This is awful. And so when you see that and you feel it, it's so disheartening. It rips it apart because your speech is like your baby, right? It's something that you've worked, you've nurtured on, and you want to deliver it, you want to show it to the world. But the world doesn't care because the world has seen thousands and thousands and thousands of other babies that are just like yours. So how do you possibly make your speech a little bit different, a little bit better, a little bit more exciting than all those other speeches that we face on a regular basis? So I ask you this. How many people here have been to an amusement park, or at least heard of an amusement park? Right, good. I eventually never raise their hands. Okay, at an amusement park, you'll notice that there are 2 rides that are very similar. One are roller coasters, the other are those trains. Now, shout out, somebody tell me, what's the name of a roller coaster that you remember from any amusement park?
Wildcat.
Wildcat, what was this?
The Demon.
The Demon. Let me get one more.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, how about one more?
Kraken.
Awesome, see, no problem. Now, tell me the name of a train at an amusement park.
Chattanooga Express.
Wow. Hey. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Just now I'm done. Thank you very much. The point I want to make is this. Is other than this guy who probably pays attention to every speech, which he deserves a round of applause. What I want to do is think about this. We remember all of the roller coasters, but we don't remember necessarily all of the trains. Great. Now, either one of them, both of them are very similar, right? You get a chance, you get invited in, you sit down. One of them, you have to buckle in. All right, the other one invites anyone. Any age, any size, it doesn't matter, come on in. The other one is specialized. You have to fit a certain role in order to get on it. You buckle in for something exciting. You wait in line to get to it. Those trains, you can pick up the train almost anywhere in the park, right? When you're going around the park, in that train, it's going nice and slow, right? And it's saying, take a look at this. This is information I want to share with you. It's wonderful information. This is information you can use. You will love this, and I'm going to talk about all the other things that you can do. That's what the train does. The roller coaster does the same thing. At the height of the roller coaster, you can see the entire park, but you are elevated to a position on a roller coaster to see the park in a view that you could never see anywhere else. So I ask you, when you tell your story, when you give your speech, when you give your presentation, stop treating it like a train. Treat it like a roller coaster. Bring it up in the beginning. We're going to come up with an exciting title for your ride, right? An exciting title that pulls people in to go, I want to know what this is about. The next step is you're going to get in there. You're going to buckle them in. You're going to give them such a strong beginning that they're leaning in and they're almost feeling tense, like I don't want to miss a part of this ride. You're gonna start building up that excitement as you're going, that rhythmic movement as you're going up and up and up. And then I'm gonna give you a momentary pause at that top, and the excitement will explode as we go up and down and all around and give you twists and turns that you weren't expecting. And in the end of the ride, we're gonna come back and bring you right back to where we started, conclusion. So as you walk off, you are anxious to run around and get in line and hear that presentation, that speech, that story one more time. You are excited to share that ride with everyone around you. That is what I urge you to do. And you can tell by doing that, it is more than just giving an informative speech. It is sharing your story. It is putting your soul out there for us all to hear. It is becoming vulnerable in front of the crowd. It's becoming fearless, walking out here and saying, I'm going to jump into this pool that is the world and say, this is what I'm about. Listen to me, because I'm screaming it. I am not just talking about it. I'm not whispering these ideas. I am screaming and singing my story because it is amazing and it is worth hearing. And that's how I want you to attack the stage every single time you step up. And I don't care if you step up on Toastmasters stage and there's only 2 people in the audience. Then you know, you made those the 2 luckiest people in the world because you shared something with them that they wouldn't have had had you not been there. If you have a full house, you take that breath a little bit deeper and you give it even more because all those people deserve your absolute best. Okay, so everyone's into this, right? I know there's probably some questions or you're circulating in your head. Before I jump into this, any questions at this point? Great, no questions. We're gonna keep moving. All right. So let's break this down like Hollywood would do, or these famous writers would do. When you are creating your story, I ask yourself, what's in the story? So in the beginning, you start your story with this beginning, and you start initiating, you start explaining, you start creating something where people are anticipating and they want to know what's going to happen. How often have we lost interest in someone's presentation within the first minute? Okay, everyone, you don't have to nod your head because you're all among friends, so it's fine. You might have lost interest in my first minute, but that's why I'm taking you on a ride. I'm going to take it down really low, and then I'm going to take it up really high for you because I want to keep your attention. So what we're going to do throughout is this entire ride, although there's many ups and downs, there's going to be one serious rise. The purpose of the speech is we're going to rise and we're going to keep building this. The initiation, we're going into this. You're building this up. I'm telling you the story. I'm telling you the secrets. I'm telling you everything you need to know, everything you want to know. We're bringing it up and up and up. So you're saying, what is it going to be? What is he going to do? What's the climax of the story? That rising action continues until bam, we hit that climax. We tell you something amazing. A change happened. Something maybe you didn't expect. Something where you got slapped in the head and saying, oh, of course. Something, yes, I've known that all along. Thank you for reminding me. Some type of climax that makes it something that is absolutely amazing. And you're like, wow, I've got to write this down. At that point, the falling and the resolution comes to this. Based on this new information, how am I going to change the way that I speak? How am I going to present the next time in front of an audience? We start working through that, and then in the end, you're going to say, yes, I absolutely loved Marty's presentation. In fact, his presentation is probably the only thing better than his good looks. Okay? So I want us to follow along with that. Drive that home. Really push this idea. Build up your story and explode with excitement. Now, when we say, how do we define this? How do we write a story? How do we create this? And I sit here, because I was told plenty of different ways. But when I come right down to it, I look at it this way. I always write the ending first. Now, in any speech, whether it's a short speech, a long speech, or whatever, if I can come up with a killer ending, something where I'm driving a point home to you, okay, I write the ending first because what I want to do, that's the thing you are going to remember. That's the thing that's going to carry you home. That's the stuff you're going to write and say, oh yeah, I remember the last thing he said was this. So wow, I'm really setting myself up for an amazing ending, which I'm trying to think, oh, I should rewrite that ending. Okay, but anyway, I start with that ending. Then I go back to the beginning. and I say, what is the hook? What am I going to talk about in the very beginning? How am I going to pull you into the story, take you for this ride, so that I end with a message, an idea, and it could be something simple, a simple solution to a pain we share. It could be something exciting, it could be a revelation, or it could just be a reminder. Then I fill in the middle, and I say, how do I define that ride? But I've got to come up with an ending first. In other words, the purpose for my presentation. What's the purpose? What am I really trying to accomplish with this? How do I want to end this? What do I want to give you to remember? And in the beginning, knowing that we're overwhelmed, we're inundated by so many other speeches, presentations, ads. People are screaming in our face to the point that we've become very good at ignoring messages. I need something in the beginning to really grab your attention. And then the middle is the fluff. The middle is the necessary stuff that takes us on that ride, that keeps us interested until I can finalize on this. So, how many people here have heard story arcs? A couple people? Okay, beautiful, excellent. So think of an arc, just like I talked about the roller coaster, the ups and downs. There are basically 6 different types of stories that you can go through. Basically 6. And these are the stories I want you to share. When you create the stories of your life, when you're creating the stories you want to share with the world, there are basically 6 different types. Now, the first one is a rags to riches. This is very simple, and we've heard this story all the time. Someone who starts out very poor and becomes very rich. It's not much of a journey, but it's straight up. And there's lots of stories and lots of speeches where you can talk about how, oh, I started as very poor, but then I started my speaking career, and I'm feeling like I'm really gaining somewhere, right? And that's a straight, short story. The next is a tragedy. Everything is going well for me. Everything is wonderful. I'm sharing it. I'm feeling good. People love me. And then something awful happens and my life falls apart. It's a straight downward story. Starts out wonderful, goes down. Not a lot of action to it, but you can see that that's the heart of it, of what's happening. Now the next, we go into this man in a hole and an Icarus story. Now, man in a hole starts out like this, is that this man is going along, everything's fine. Life is good. He falls into a hole. Life falls apart for him. Things drop. He loses everything, but he finds a way up out of the hole. So you can see, rather than just going straight up or straight down, what happens now, he goes down and back up. Okay, so now we have this first dip when we're telling stories. And this is a great arc for you writing a story. Start with something like, this is all great, but then my life fell apart, but I was able to rebuild. Okay, that's what you want to do. Icarus, the story of a father and son who felt that they wanted to fly to the gods, and so they built wings, held together with, I believe it was wax, and they flew. And so what was happening was, at that point, they were poor, they were kind of wordless, but what they said to themselves, well, we could be gods. So we're going to fly up to the gods. So they started out low, they flew up to the gods, but they got too close to the sun melted their wax. The feathers fell off and they plummeted to their death. So they started out low, tasted the good life momentarily, and then fell. So you can see it's the complete opposite. The last 2 are obviously the Cinderella story and the Oedipus story, which are more of an arc. Okay, when you think about Cinderella, she first started, she was poor, wanted something, fairy godmother came, brought her to the ball, everything is fantastic, life is good, right? Started at the bottom, went up high, came down because she lost everything at midnight, okay? And then at the end, the prince found her. So now we have a real roller coaster start. These are the stories, these are the things you share when you are speaking for a longer period of time. Oedipus is the other side. Oedipus was a king and queen, up high, everything was great, but then a soothsayer told him, be careful, because your son is going to sleep with your mother, and your son is going to kill the father, right? And they said, oh, this is terrible, we don't want that to happen. So they figured, oh, we're going to solve the problem and banish him. And they got rid of him, and everything was good. And his son grew up not knowing his parents, and he became famous. He became a popular guy, became a great Toastmaster. And then at the end, he came back down, and he ended up sleeping with his mother and killing his father, and the prophecy came true. So you can see it's that same story. Now I urge you, be careful when you do that, because you don't want so many ups and downs that people don't know the purpose of the story. There's got to be a purpose, there's got to be the end goal. That driving fact, that message that you want to share, you need that to really drive it home at the end. But you can see that there are many arcs that you can take in order to get there. How many of you here have done something, let's go with the plain rags to riches or the tragedy, that you feel your stories started in one place and just ended in another place, whether it's up to down, down to up. So I see a couple of hands, cool, excellent. And that's wonderful. You can create powerful stories like that. How many people have done the next line, the man in the hole or the Icarus, where you started high, you explained how you went low, but then you found a way out? How many people like that? A few people? Awesome. And then I want us to explore the idea when you're writing your speeches, when you're sharing your stories, how can you create a couple more ways, a little bit more movement, some rhythm? Okay, your speeches, your stories, you should be able to dance with them. You should want to sing with them as you're sharing the stories. There should be some real movement that you're bringing the entire audience along with you on the dance. Now, I want to share with you what I consider my storytelling or story writing path. Now, because after I go through all of this and I explain the arcs and I explain what you should be doing, a lot of people go, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to write about? You told me all of this, but my head is a blank. So the hack is simple. It starts out with the H, is your hustle. It's your hook. It's something that makes you happy, something about yourself. Maybe it's a hobby that you do, but something that you know, you're very familiar with, something in your life has just brought you joy, something that you're really good at. It's a side hustle, it's your regular job. It's the things that you do that make you special. Think of that, just to think of the thing that you are awesome at. Let me hear somebody shout out, other than knitting, what else is someone amazing at?
Fishing.
Fishing, awesome. Come on, we have fishing. There's gotta be something else. Tennis, nice. How about from this side? Come on, I want you to revel in this. I want you to shine. Tell me what are you proud of? Awesome. Somebody.
Archery.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I like that. Somebody here is a ventriloquist because I had to you got it. This is incredible. The idea of Toastmasters is never ending. All right, so you find that thing you're awesome at, and then you go to A. What is the award? Thank you. The award, the achievement, the acknowledgement. That thing that triumphant spirit, the thing that you did in that hustle that made it work for you. What was the thing you're most proud of? What is the thing that if you had a trophy, that's what you want that trophy to be about? Think about that reward. Then I want you to think of the challenge. What were the obstacles, the hurdles you had to come over, the concerns, the conflicts you had to meet in order to achieve that acknowledgement, that award, that achievement in your hustle? And once you create that, you have a good story in itself. But I want you to add in one more thing, and that is the kicker, that keeper, that little bit of extra knowledge, that one little thing, that nugget. And I'm spelling a nugget with a silent K. The nugget, that thing that makes you that story a little bit special, makes someone, oh, that's interesting. That's why you hear me talk about bacon all the time. That's that little nugget I add into the stories to make it a little bit more than just a regular story. Okay, find that nugget, that thing, that knowledge piece, that kicker, that piece that makes what you're doing a little bit different. All right, everyone understand this, right? Beautiful hack, it can work, right? So when you think about fishing, you think about this whole idea that you love to fish, right? What is the biggest award, the achievement, the goal, the thing that you did in fishing one day that you are the most proud of?
Teaching my kids how to fish.
Teach, awesome. So think of that. What is the challenge? What is the toughest part about teaching your kids? Patience. All right. And what are they anxious to learn?
Sure.
Okay. Are they really?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Ice cream afterwards.
All right. So maybe that's it. You have to learn to bribe them. Okay. Now tell me, what's the kicker? What's the special thing? What's the twist? What's something really interesting? Because we've all heard of dads teaching their kids how to fish. That's an age-old story, and he bribes them with ice cream. Okay, that's fun, but what's something really a cool twist? What's something, another keeper, a kicker, something that's different about your story that makes it special?
When you catch something that you're not expecting to catch.
Okay, like
a shoe or
a knife. So you tell the story about where they were out there and your kids were really excited because look at this, I caught a shoe, and they spent the rest of the day trying to catch the other shoe, right? So perfect. That's what you want to do. That's how you want to build the story. And that's what makes the story more memorable. Because if you had ended the story with just, as a dad, I love teaching, I love bringing my kids fishing with me. You'd ended it like that. It's a nice story. but is it worth repeating?
Hmm.
Unfortunately not, okay, but as soon as you say they caught one shoe and they spent the rest of the day looking for the other shoe, now it's a story you might remember, you might repeat. That's what we're talking about, that kicker. That's the ending part, that's the part that makes your story special. All right, now, when I say you have stories in you, I am being really serious. You have tons of stories within you, and sometimes we forget them, we can't come up with them. You know, you walk in and somebody says, hey, what's going on? You're sitting there and you're dumbfounded, right? You have nothing to say. You walk into a cocktail party or a networking event and you're like, wow, I'm lost. I have nothing to say. So this is another secret that I call the pocket full of stories. And I tell you to imagine a tripod. Your stories are based on three things. Number one is a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. Okay. And we'll talk to you, the train engineer. All right. Tell me. Good, you're all good. Tell me someone who's special in your life. Could be a child, a parent, a spouse, a friend, just the name.
My grandfather.
Awesome, fantastic. All right, so that's where we're gonna start. That's a noun, it's a person. We could have gone with a place or a thing that he treasured, but let's go with your grandfather. Now, the next one is we're gonna pick an emotion. For my stories, I like to at least do 2 emotions. So you move, 3 emotions are even better. Remember we talked about the arcs? Okay, but let's just do 2 emotions. Pick an emotion, either anger, fear, or sadness.
No.
No?
The emotion I would.
No, I'm asking you.
I wouldn't pick either of those.
All right.
There wasn't a time that I was either sad.
All right, how about this? No, how about this? With your grandfather, have you ever seen him fearful? Have you ever seen him act in a way? Not at all. You've got to stretch your imagination. There's got to be a point.
I'll give you 2 emotions.
All right.
Pride and respect.
Perfect. All right. But when you give pride and respect, where is your story? I've got to have a conflict in your story.
But the conflict would be me almost getting kicked out of school.
Excellent. How did he react to that?
He came down and he was, my grandfather was a legendary man. He came down and he went to the principal's office and I didn't hear in all the words. I heard enough of them.
Yeah. All right. How did you feel when you almost got kicked out of school and they called your grandfather? Did you just immediately think, hey, I don't have to worry about things, he can take care of me? Or were you afraid because you let him down?
Yes and yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so there you go. So that little bit of fear, I want you to touch on that little bit of fear, because what ends up happening is in order to create the story, you start by talking about the story about you and your grandfather, and you were kicked out of school, and your biggest thing was you were afraid because you didn't want to let him down. He's a legendary guy. You have so much pride in being who he is. He is somebody we all should look up to. So the fact that you just might have let him down scares me a little bit. Okay, and so you take that story and you talk about the story, how you turned it around, and it ends up with a happy ending. And that's what I talk about. This is what I want you to do. I want you to continue to do this for yourself, is to think about people in your life, think about places in your life that mean something, think about things that you treasure. Maybe a trophy. Maybe you just look around and go, I love this glass. I love this microphone. Whatever it is, a thing. You start with that. Then you talk about the emotions and you take a ride. You start with one emotion and go to another emotion. At least that, if not 3 emotions. And the last one, the third leg of the tripod, is very easy. The third leg of the tripod is whatever situation you're in. So what I do is I keep a list in my phone of possible story ideas. I do things like this: my son Luke in the drill, my dad in fishing, my daughter in the gray car, and I write things like that, and they remind me of stories. And before I walk into a room, before I walk into anywhere, a networking event, a party, whatever, I can open that up and scroll through and reintroduce myself to stories. And now over time, you start with 2 or 3 in there, and then it turns into 10, and then 20, and then 50, and you sort through, and you start going, oh, I forgot about that story. And you start going through that. Now what I've done is I've fed my brain. I've reintroduced myself to all these stories, so when I walk into a room and someone says something, there's an immediate link. Now, the story about what you're talking about here, about this whole idea that you were kicked out of school for whatever reason, you felt a little fear because you didn't want to let your grandfather down, it turned into happy. When is, in a business situation, could he use this story? Anybody?
Laying somebody off.
Laying somebody off, okay, all right. So you could maybe lay somebody off and you're just gonna say, look, this is, don't look upon this as a terrible event. I remember being kicked out of school one day and I felt terrible because the people I loved, I felt like I was letting down. Just because we're laying you off does not mean that you've let anyone down. This is an opportunity for you to go onto something bigger. So you can share that story with them. What's another time that he could share that story in any way? Somebody back here.
Anytime two employees have conflict about something.
There you go, perfect, perfect. So you see, what ends up happening is you have this story hidden away in the back of your head, you've refreshed yourself, and then when the question mark pops up, it's easy to introduce your story in a way that it makes the lesson you're gonna teach a little easier to accept and understand. All right, the bottom line is this: when you are done with your story, when you share this story with everybody here, I want you to concentrate on this. What did they see? Notice I'm saying, what did they see? Not what did they hear, but what did they see? What was the picture I painted so perfectly for you that you were part of it, that you could see this? If I was talking about, remember at the beginning, I talked about the hunt, and we're sitting around the fire. A lot of you could probably picture yourself there, or you could picture people around the fire. All right, so what did you see? Did you see yourself standing up on stage and talking again? Did you see relatives in your past? As I was asking you for examples, what did you see? It's not so much about what you heard, because these are just words, but my words have to force you to use your imagination and see something. And in order to do that, what did I make you feel? Did I make you feel happy? Did I make you feel sad? Did I anger you, etc.? I want to take you on a bit of a ride. I want you to feel content and then excited. Content again and excited. I want you to feel like you've learned something and then you've had a good time and you've laughed. What did I make you think? I want you to look at this and go, yeah, I kind of knew this, but I like the way that he reintroduced it. Wow, I never thought of it this way. I do like that storytelling hack. That makes a lot of sense of putting that kicker, that keeper at the end to make the story a little bit more special. Maybe I'll do that. And lastly is, what do I want my audience to remember? All right, now you can see my slides, a lot of bright colors, there's pictures of me up on slides because I love myself, okay? I talk about bacon a lot. I wear these Hawaiian shirts. I'm always branded because I want you to remember. I want you to remember you met me. Notice I did not come here with a suit and tie, which you would have said, wow, he's a nice dressed guy. No, but I stood out. I dressed in a way that you remember and say, what was the name of that guy who spoke? He had the Hawaiian shirt and he talked about bacon. That's how you're going to remember me. And that's what's so important, is how will your story be remembered? It's not just how it's delivered, but it's how it will be remembered. Now, this last thing, it looks like I'm almost out of time, but I would love to do this one thing. I would love to get 4 volunteers to come out up here. 4 people who would love to try a little experiment. There you go, come on up here. There's 2. All right, we have 4 people, excellent. Careful of the cord, just line up right here. Just don't trip on the cord.
I'll do my best.
All right, thank you. Nice. All right, so what we're gonna do is do something really simple. And this idea of, I always think about these 4 different feelings: happy, sad, scared, and angry. And so what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna show you how you can say the exact same line with those different feelings. And when you're sharing the story, they have so much different intent. Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to be angry first because you look angry.
Let's go.
No, right, there you go. You're gonna be angry, and I really want you to deliver it with anger. All right, I want you to deliver it in the same line with fear, scared beyond belief. Okay, you're gonna deliver the same line with sadness. This is just terrifying. It's almost gonna bring us to tears, right? And you are gonna end the exact same line with happiness, joyfulness. Like, this is the best day of your life. Okay, and really deliver it. Your Toastmasters is gonna be amazing. So, what are you?
Angry.
Nice, scared. Nice. Nice. Feel it. What you're gonna say, word for word. Don't add any words. Don't take any words away. All right. I want you to say, I just got my foot stuck in the toilet. Angry as you can be. It's the exact same words, They all said the exact same words, but it's the way they delivered it. Made you see something, made you feel something, made you think of something, and it made it memorable. You think about this. This is more than likely how I might respond. I would be really angry that I got my foot stuck in the toilet. You got scared by it because you're gonna sit there going, my wife's gonna come home and she's gonna be like, again? You're extremely sad, right? Because you're like, oh man, I usually get my head stuck in the toilet. And you're happy because you're like, finally, it's my turn too. All right? So you can see there's always a story behind the words. It's the way you deliver your story. It's the way you deliver it like that that really is meaningful. So thank you. Let's get that around the way. And closing, all I want to do is go back to that fire for a moment and just remind you this one thing. Ignite that fire within your story. I could stand up here and say, I just got my foot stuck in the toilet. It doesn't matter. But what I want to do is ignite a fire inside my stories. I want you to take your audience on that ride, that roller coaster ride. Stop delivering like a train and take them somewhere. Take them somewhere where they never expected to go. Take them, bring them on twists and turns. Give them something to remember and repeat. Give them a story so strong that when they walk out on you, they walk over to everyone and go, wow, you missed a great presentation. I hope he does it again. And on that, thank you very much.